What's going on, guys? It's been a little while since I was able to upload a video, but I wanted to give you guys a game preview for a game that has a lot of meaning to me from both these organizations, between the 2-3 Detroit Lions, who are coming to Hard Rock Stadium this Sunday, October 21st, to play against the 4-2 Miami Dolphins. That game will be at 1 p.m. Eastern Time on Fox. The Lions are coming off a bye week, where the Dolphins are going to be coming off of a thrilling overtime win in Brock Osweiler's first start of the season for them against the Chicago Bears. The Lions are actually 2.5-point favorites, which I find to be pretty surprising in this matchup because of their records. The Lions are 2-3, the Dolphins are 4-2. The Lions are actually 0-2 on the road this season, where the Dolphins are undefeated at 3-0 at home. So the Lions being favorites says a lot about how Vegas and other sportsbooks are really looking at this game and how they feel about Brock Osweiler as a starting quarterback here in 2018. Now, Travis Wingfield, who I find to be someone who does a really good job covering the Miami Dolphins on Twitter, you can follow him at Wingfield NFL. He had a pretty interesting tweet this week that said Brock Osweiler was 0 for 6 with 2 interceptions throwing contested balls this past week against the Bears in his first start, and also 76% of his passing yards of those 380 that he had last week were all yards after the catch. Now, yards after the catch are definitely a way that the Dolphins really built their offense. You have guys like Kenny Stills, Kenyon Drake, Albert Wilson, and Jakeem Grant, who really are yards after the catch kind of players. They're shifty, elusive, they're really fast. Now, the thing is that can cause some frustrations for people who have watched the Dolphins offense over the last couple of years, because oftentimes on 3rd and long, they're throwing, short of the sticks. That's a problem, is they don't push the ball up the field. They really rely on their playmakers to make plays with the ball in their hand. Now, looking at some of the different stats that we have for this game, going a little bit deeper into the numbers, there's a couple things that I found to be pretty interesting about this matchup. The Lions have done a really good job protecting Matt Stafford this season. They've only allowed 9 sacks. Now, remember, with all these stats, the Lions have played one less game than the Dolphins have up to this point. So they've only allowed 9 sacks this season, but they've gotten 17 from their defense. Now, Miami has 16 sacks of their own on defense, but they've allowed 17. So the Lions do a really good job of protecting Matt Stafford, who is definitely a better caliber quarterback than Brock Osweiler is. And if Brock Osweiler is having pressure all day long, I could definitely see him making some mistakes with the football and really helping the Lions win the game by making those mistakes. Now, the good thing is Laramie Tunsil and Jawan James, the 2 tackles for the Dolphins, they've been healthy this past week. They played against the Chicago Bears, and that really terrifying front 7 they have, including the NFL Defensive Player of the Year candidate in Khalil Mack. They gave him one of the worst games of his career. They did a pretty excellent job of blocking for Brock Osweiler last week, so hopefully they can keep that going for this upcoming week as well if they want to find some success with their passing attack. Now, on 3rd downs, which is definitely the most important down in all of football, the Lions have converted 41.7% of their 3rd downs this season on offense. That's a pretty good number, especially considering Miami allows a really high number of 48% of 3rd downs to be converted. So the Lions have a really good opportunity to be able to stay on the field, move the ball systematically down the field, and keep the Miami offense on the bench. The Dolphins have only converted 34% of their 3rd downs on offense, and the Lions are only allowing 34% of 3rd downs to be converted on them. The Dolphins definitely might have a struggle this game of trying to stay on the field, converting 3rd downs and trying to move the ball down the field on longer drives, which is definitely going to be a benefit for the Lions. So when you look at sacks and you look at the 3rd down numbers, both of those are really going to be in favor of the Lions coming into this matchup. Now, when it comes to the running the ball, this is something that both teams have been pretty inconsistent with in recent years. The Lions hadn't had a 100-yard rusher in quite some time until they played the New England Patriots, and Kerryon Johnson was able to deliver that for them. The Dolphins have had their days of Jay Ajayi with 200 rushing yards, and they've also had their days where Frank Gore and Kenyon Drake combined for like 9 yards a couple weeks ago against the Patriots themselves. So it really depends on which rushing attack you're getting from the Dolphins. The Lions this season have averaged less than 100 rushing yards a game on offense, but they're allowing a pretty big number of 145 rushing yards on defense. Now, Miami, they average about 106 yards on the ground, and they allow 118 on their defense. So the running game definitely favors Miami. They have a pretty good opportunity of moving the ball on the Lions through the ground, but they need their guys like Frank Gore, who obviously is a little bit older, and Kenyon Drake, who's been really inconsistent this year, to step their game up and bring some consistency to this offense this week, if that's how they plan on winning the game, is through the ground. Especially because it'll help take some pressure off of Brock Osweiler, who hasn't had nearly as many reps as other quarterbacks around the league in recent years. Now again, the Dolphins are 3-0 at home. As I mentioned earlier, that's kind of surprising with where the spread lays, with the Lions as the favorite. But that's an advantage for Miami as well. The fact that they have been 3-0 at home and they look pretty good playing in front of their home crowd. They've also had some pretty miraculous comeback wins like they did against the Bears and even against the Raiders. Now, 3 keys for victory for Miami in this game. They have to create turnovers. They've done a really good job this season of taking the ball away from the other team, especially intercepting the ball. And in the red zone, they've done a great job of that as well. So if they can take the ball out of the hands of the Lions and give it back to Brock Osweiler and give him as many opportunities as he can get to try and score, that's definitely going to be a key for them. Also, as I mentioned earlier, yards after the catch, that's what their offense is built on. They're going to be checking the ball down a lot. They're going to be throwing a lot of shorter routes. Can their playmakers make plays in space? And finally, as we had just mentioned, running the ball effectively. The Lions allow teams to run on them. Can the Dolphins run on them this week? Now, 3 keys for Detroit to win this game. They have to get off the field on third down. They've done a tremendous job this season of not letting teams convert third downs. Miami has struggled at that. So if they can continue to keep Miami off of the field, they're going to give themselves much more opportunities, and special teams are going to be able to put the Lions in better field position to start these drives. And keeping Miami off the field on third downs is going to be critical for them to win this game. Tackling an open field and stopping big plays, as I mentioned with the yards after the catch, if you can keep those shifty guys like Jakeem Grant and Kenyon Drake and Albert Wilson in front of you and not let them get those 70-yard plays, because these are the kind of guys that can take a 5-yard catch 80 yards to the house. If you can prevent them from doing that, Miami's offense is going to have a much harder time getting going in this game. And finally, they have to just convert in the red zone on offense. Miami's taken the ball away several times from teams in the end zone, picking off the ball, and even stopping teams on 4th and short, like 4th and 1s near the goal line. That's something that's been a strength for Miami all year, stopping teams in the red zone from converting and getting touchdowns. The Lions, when they get to the red zone, have to convert into points and not just field goals. So if I had to predict who's going to win this game, based on all the numbers I've looked at this week, I would say the Lions are going to pick up their first road win of the season, 24-17 over the Dolphins, cover that 2.5-point spread. If you disagree with my prediction, feel free to let me know in the comments. Who do you think is going to win the game? If you enjoyed the video, please press like and feel free to subscribe. And next week, if you want to see my predictions for who I think is going to win the game, click that notification bell right by the subscribe button. Thank you guys so much for watching. It's a pleasure to be back on YouTube. See you later.